Right, I'm back. Apologies for that. Let's see if it will get going again. Let's restart it from the beginning. So, yes. Apologies for that. I have changed the settings so it's scaled down the resolution of the output to essentially around 720p. Or whatever it is. So yes, as before, if you're starting from the beginning, probably it's going to restart there. So I'm editing my latest video, but I'm also going to answer questions in the meantime. So that was the set of questions thus far. Yes, I'm going to Swords and Cider, which is a club, an event held by my local club. I have not used a mace, but I have used a club. Don't know how to tell if boys like me because I'm not gay. I don't have a girlfriend. I'd never heard of Holmgang Hamburg, but it sounds dangerous. And now you're caught up so far. Let's see, it's going green. Good. Good. Right, so that bit is quite extreme. There we are. I think I don't need that part because I think, yeah, it shows. Okay, I don't need that. So I can do the 1 second. Well, I figured I could get another cut out of this bottle. Now, I'm using the main edge. I will start on my dominant. Hang on, I hope I correct myself to carton. Well, I figured I could get another cut out of this bottle. Carton, rather. Yes, I do. Now, this time, rather than using the main edge, I will start on my dominant side, the right, in the same sort of position, the long tail. But rather than cutting with the main edge, the true edge, front edge, long edge, people call it various things, but it's the same stuff. I will instead be using the double edge that I've put on this particular one, but on most European swords is a standard feature, and then I shall try to do a sort of a back cut like this, and then hopefully, if I've done the edge well enough, bearing in mind this was from the factory and I just resharpened it, this is something I put on myself, might not work, but let's have a look, and basically it will be the same sort of mechanic again, bloody wind, rather than using my knuckle sword and basically just bringing those arms in. It's sort of a bit like lifting weights, maybe. You've got that sort of force with yourself. Might not work, but let's have a look. You know what? Interesting analogy about lifting weights, but it's probably a bit too much like You've got that sort of force where you're bringing the arm inwards rather than extending outwards. So, here we are, and 3, 2, no. Might not work, but let's have a look. So, here we are, and 3, 2, 1. I hope this works. Might not work, but let's have a look. Here we are, and 3, 2, 1. I hope this works. So I've got this. Let's see if it doesn't go exploding. Works. Yes, it did. Let's have another look at that. I hope this works. Yes, it did. 3, 2, 1. I hope this works. Yes, it did. Nice. It's 1667. Is that one?
Any news on the crossbow? No news on the crossbow. Try bow hurt, it's more accurate than H.E.M.A. Oh! Stirring up a hornet's nest. There are ways in which bow hurt can be, or such things can be, more and less accurate than H.E.M.A, depending on what factors you're looking at.
It did.
But obviously, with stuff like historical European martial arts, you are looking at the actual techniques and things against things like unarmoured opponents. Most especially it works well in, but also actually can be very useful in armoured combat. But it doesn't give you the same degree of conditioning for actually wearing and using armour, which of course you can get from events like bow hurt. But it is folly to think that bow hurt is inherently superior or inferior, because really they both have their advantages and disadvantages.
So, yes it did. So, for the purpose of this particular exercise, I'm going to do what is called a mezzani or a mittelhau, or basically a sort of a middle cut. Now again, hello bird, I'm going to use my non-dominant side because it's going to work for this, and most especially I'm going to be focusing on a draw cut. Now the difference is you've got a chopping cut, which is what you've mostly seen before, which is I'm extending the sword out a bit like casting a fishing rod, and that sort of action adds heft. Now just quickly, this should show actually that I didn't do it quite properly, and you'll see there are slice marks across here, and there was a cut done, but really it was fairly surface. It basically extended to about here, a few inches across, whereas really on a soft target like these cartons I should have one. Now just quickly, one. Now just quickly, one. One.
Yeah.
Now just quickly, this should show actually that I didn't do it quite properly, and you'll see there are slice marks across here, and there was a cut done, but really it was fairly surface. It basically extended to about here, a few inches across, whereas really on a soft target like these cartons I should have split the entire thing open. Now for this cut I've actually got a spade, a little sort of improvised shovel thing. Put an edge on it earlier.
Hate it when the wind does that.
Which will make an interesting twist. So this time I shall be using it two-handed. The same sort of concept applies. When I'm doing the chop, I'm extending it out like a fishing rod. Now I'll be doing a mittelhau mezzani, a middle cut, which will be going across this way. But to show that I'll be using it two-handed.
Stupid wind ruined the sound on this bit, so I have to do that. Useless garbage. There we go.
Two-handed. The same sort of concept applies.
There we go.
When I'm doing the chop, I'm extending across this way. But to show that actually I've been showing every time with the passing footwork, I've always been going forwards, so I'd be starting from one side.
A good cut and might get rid
so
of
I shall start here. This is going to be, there's what's called a guard lady, which is a bit like this. It's basically like you're about to swing a baseball bat.
Wind pisses me off again.
Which goes back to about here, properly wound up. I'm going to start fairly close to the target, because that's basically where a person would have run by the time I've executed the cut, even if they start basically off screen distance. So I start about here, quite extreme as you can see. I'm going to step back and execute the cut around at the same time. Okay, so hopefully I won't slip on the now wet floor. So 3, 2, 1.
That wasn't even a good cut. You know what? I'm just going to get rid of that. That can go away. Poor cut. Oh, there's that one as well. Oh, that really was a long clip. Okay, so these can all go. Let's just double check. 1668. Yeah, and that should be 1670. Right. Nope, wrong one. Here we are. Try round shield and sword combat. Yeah, I do certainly like round shield and sword quite a lot. I've been hoping to actually get into some of that, but it's not so much a problem with... Well, maybe it is a problem with H.E.M.A, but it's just something I haven't had the opportunity to do as much. Well, or much at all, really. I did some sword and rotella, which was at the main melee. And those were some really useful lessons, and I learnt quite a lot. But obviously, I can't expect to become an expert in one session. Right, that was an interruption.
Zani. In fact, I'll do it from the dominant side since you haven't seen that yet. Now, to make things interesting when you're doing test cutting, and to learn more while doing so, rather than just do a straight offense every time, start from some sort of defense. So one of the basic ones you can do, apart from, you can do this, where you're sloping the blade to basically catch any weapon coming your way. You can also have it upright, do stuff like this. Let's say someone thrusts, or someone cuts, that sort of thing. So I shall start from here, rather than nice attacking position. I'll actually start as if I've just defended, and then I will deliver a cut from there. So here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Nice.
That'll do.
Take that down. Because that's clearly exploding the mic.
2, 1. That'll do.
So we move on to the next clip.
I know I said this would be the last cut I show of from above. Things like cutlasses, sabers, and whatnot. You can still do cuts with passing steps, walking forward as you cut. But when you're using something that starts point forward, like a rapier, saber, all sorts of things like that, there is another way in which you can cut. Or perhaps with
shield bashes and things.
Because your arm can get cut off. Notice
it would be
these hands and fingers
disallowed. But there you go.
Now I know I said this would be the last cut I show of from above, but for the benefit of you who are using things like cutlasses, sabers, and whatnot, you can still do cuts with passing steps, walking forward as you cut. But when you're using something that starts point forward, like a rapier, saber, all sorts of things like that, there is another way in which you can cut, or perhaps with a medieval sword, but it's not the best technique because your arm can get cut off. Notice these hands and fingers exposed to any killing blood you can cut, or the way in which you can cut, or perhaps with a medieval sword, but it's not the best technique because your arm can get cut off. Notice these hands and fingers exposed to any killing blow, but basically you can actually deliver a cut from these sorts of positions by just taking a sort of shuffle step, which is where I step the same foot, so I've got my dominant right foot forward, I extend
God,
it
that
out,
wind is so bad. I
leaving
need to find a way to
left leg still where it
cover
is,
the mic.
then
So
retract
these
back
are
again. So I'm still
daunting
shoulder width
problems
apart, but basically
editing. Fuck, there's another one.
from the target. And I can use that to add a bit of power to the cut. So rather than just standing still and going chop, which is bad technique, I can start a little bit further back, apart, but basically advanced and retracted from the target. And I can use that to add a bit of power to the cut. So rather than just standing still and going chop, which is bad technique, I can start a little bit further back, add a cut, back into a nice comfortable position. So I'll show you that now. So, 3, 2, 1.
God, I wish I knew how to deal with that wind. Oh, that sound of turning off the... Yeah, welcome to the world of my pet peeves. Basically everything that I have to edit out.
Last but not least, let's talk about usage with shields. Yes, there are ways in which...
Ugh. Editing truly is something I go between loving it and hating it. That's an insight for you. It's a love-hate relationship. I think this is a... Fuck's sake. Every time. I wish I could control the weather. Good thing I can get rid of that.
And the shield can be used separately. Last but not least, let's talk about usage with shields. Yes, there are ways in which the weapon and the shield can be used separately, and they can also be used in what I keep calling tight action, where basically... Last but not least, let's talk about usage with shields. Yes, there are ways in which the weapon and the shield can be used separately, and they can also be used in what I keep calling tight action, where basically they all move together and you're constantly covering your hand with the shield. Now, just for the benefit of yourselves, I'll show you one cut, which shall be... What shall I do? I can do one of these. Tell you what, Mazzani cut from the right, and then a what's called Sultani upcut from the cut, which shall be... What shall I do? Tell you what, Mazzani cut from the right, and then if there's anything left, what shall I do? Tell you what, Mazzani cut from the right, and then perhaps if there's anything left, I shall finish. Mazzani cut from the right, and then what shall I do? Mazzani cut from the right, and then perhaps if there's anything left, I shall finish up with a Mazzani cut from the right, and then perhaps if there's anything left, I shall finish up with a what's called Sultani upcut from the left. So you'll see that I won't just go on all of this, not defending myself because that's bad technique. I'll be trying to keep the shield around roughly in front of me the whole time. So 3, 2, 1. Ah! That was good.
Ah, that was a good clip.
Ah! Ah! That was good. Ah! That was good.
So edit that out. Any more questions or comments? Oh, what's my favourite historical period? Because of the diversity of the arms and armour, I would say my favourite historical period has got to be the 1400s. Because you have, of course, the development of plate armour reaching towards its height. I mean, it was at its best in the Renaissance, but it was pretty good in the 1400s. Mail armour is still around. Padded gambesons are still very commonly used. There are a great variety of helmets. You've got brigandine armour, you've got coats of plates, You've got partial sections of plate armor with cuirasses, spaulders, vambraces, you know, different sort of sections and plates, and it's all sort of a mix and match with so many different options. You've got different people in the East using types of lamellar armor and things like that. It just, in terms of things like the arms and armor and the different designs of swords as well, warhammers, poleaxes, spears, battle forks, all the various arms and armor that you can choose, there seems to be the greatest sort of diversity when looking at the 1400s. It's like, I look at video games like the upcoming, for example, the upcoming Mount and Blade Bannerlord is based sort of, you know, it sort of reflects real history to some degree, and it's based before Mount and Blade Warband, and you can see, even just from initial looks at the beta, they'll either have not as much range in armor, or they're going to really have to pull stuff out of their arse. You know, they're going to have like Viking fur with bear skin, or Viking fur with a wolf skin. Oh, and there's a gambeson underneath, sort of thing. You know, you've got basically, you know, when it's a reflection of the early medieval period, although indeed they weren't the Dark Ages, they weren't primitive, it's, in terms of the ranges of arms and armor, it was pretty boring from my perspective, because you've got your Viking or Saxon style swords, which were usually fullered, broad cutter blades with a sudden taper towards the tip, and a short cross guard with something like some sort of what they call tea-cozy pommel these days. And then in armor, you've got the choice between nothing, you know, like clothes, maybe a helmet, gambeson, mail armor, and that's it, really. And then, you know, in terms of even things like the archery, there might have been, well, I know the Normans had crossbows, but in terms of the general ranges of bows and crossbows and things, you don't really have much. You have your basic sort of crossbow, you have what would become sort of it's basically the English longbow, but they would have probably used lower draw weights since they didn't focus, especially people like the Anglo-Saxons, they didn't really like archery that much, it seems. And like on the Bayeux Tapestry, there are hardly any archers shown from the English side at all. That's one example. So you don't really get much diversity and much sort of depth in that. It's just boring. And by contrast, the 1400s, you've got so many steel, you know, you've got crossbows, for example, you've got the wooden prods, the hunting style ones. I mean, they've done it in Mount and Blade. You've got like hunting crossbow, light crossbow, and then siege crossbow, but it's basically a reflection of, indeed, a hunting sort of easy, you know, well, more non-warfare type of crossbow. Then you'd have a proper sort of heavier grade composite or just basic wood crossbow. Then you would have, which you span by hand, you'd have stronger ones which you span with a belt. Then you have the versions that you span with a goat's foot lever. Then it starts to get onto the heavier grades with a windlass and things like that. So you've got all of those ranges. You've got with English longbows, Mongolian style sorts of bows, and some crossovers, other Asian types of bows, Middle Eastern bows, which would also be composite. You know, just varieties in so much choice. And whether you're looking at fiction, whether you're looking at reenactment or creating video games, there's just so much to choose from and so much to enjoy. So that's why I love the 1400s so much. Because it, to me, feels like the pinnacle of that type of choice. Now you're like antiquity of German tribes. Right, sort of the... Yeah, that would be the fall of the Roman Empire, so I guess you're talking maybe up to, well, 200 to 400 AD or something like that, right? Anyway. Losing track of the editing. Right, 673. Oh, and that's it. Okay, so then we get think it's the last version to best. I remember now. Okay, so that takes the total length up to about 15 minutes. I can cut a lot of this out. Right, save.
So that's all for today. Feel free. That was good.
So we flow on from here.
I mean, the whole time. So, 3, 2, 1. Ah! That was good. So that's all for today. Feel free to check out other videos regarding test cutting. I haven't done lessons in them, but I showed some things and different weapons as well. If you want a review on the Latin machete that I used in most of the test cutting today, I have got a video of that. I'll link in the end screen somewhere for you, and that can give you further information on that. But I hope that you enjoyed these lessons and learnt a lot and got a bit of an idea of things to try and stuff to do. So see you the next time. Goodbye.
No. Ah, crunch. I hate the fact that turning cameras off and on makes this diabolical crunching noise every time, no matter what make and model. So, we have that. And that's when we get onto the end screen portion. So what do you like the most about antiquity then with the Germanic tribes? Because you mentioned they destroyed the Romans. Is that the only reason? Surely, you know, you like a period the most because of all sorts of different factors. It's like I think about the 1400s and I think, you know, battles like Agincourt and just others which I can't remember. I remember you got others like Visby and whatnot, but I can't remember which are 1300s and 1400s, because I do certainly like the 1300s a lot. We have battles like Cressy as well. Obviously, as a bit of a half-hearted patriot, I guess I like those sorts of periods where you got the English doing pretty well. Although saying that, they did, in a way, lose the 100 Years' War. But there you go. Still certainly very fascinating in the meantime. Now, in terms of... Oh, I know. Go for some... test cutting. I should do another green screen video at some point soon. Anyway, I can pop this video in, and I can have basically no sound, dim it, so it goes out like this.
Goodbye.
Yeah, something like 57%, maybe. Okay, dim it to 50. Test cutting madness doesn't seem to be the best for that. Right, next question. Jitterbug Forest era fur-clad barbarians. I thought people didn't like that term because it sort of is derogatory to the native people, but there you go. Ah, here we are.
Target. Enjoy.
Oops. It does both at once. So I'll probably have to edit this myself. So I have this. Whoops. So this is garbage. I need to get rid of. Maybe I can probably just go. And they go. Wow. Right, take that down to about 30. Yep, 39%. That will do. So then it goes end of this.
Bye.
That's the results. Yeah. I have no idea what I'm putting finally in that bit. I like the slow motion. I haven't done that today. It's got that stuff. Yeah. Oh, this is my favourite one. God, I'm wearing shorts in that video. That's so weird. Anyway, there's nothing wrong with the barbarians. Read some of the Conan stories. Conan the Barbarian. Okay. Yes. Whenever I think history, I think, ah, yes, Conan the Barbarian. Now, there's something. Filled with determination, but the bottles were no longer filled with water. Wait, how did I get... Oh. Yeah, it's because it's either end of the clip. There we go. I think that should be enough. So I add a new layer and check for new questions. Stories show how the barbarian is superior to the civilized man. Barbarians are not superior to civilized people. I do believe you have encountered a fallacy. Don't you know? Barbarians superior to civilized people. What will they come up with next? Honestly, it does get silly sometimes. The things people come up with. No. Let's see how many people have watched it. Of course, now you guys will know. And then central alignment, probably about 12 size. About there, no. Here. Yeah. Ball. Oops. Turn. To show you watched it all. There we are. Oops. Comment. There we are. Wonder how many people will start to realise these things. Special tricks. What else? Honestly, I've had the last 10 comments by the same person. Are you the only one watching this? Just the 3 of you. Come on. Any questions? Any comments? That's what I'm here for. In fact, I want one of you, someone, to tell me something that you'd like discussed in a video. Because, after all, that is why I am called the PC Genie. No, it does not mean politically correct. It means personal computer. But through this computer, I am hoping to grant wishes. I can't give you all the money in the world and stuff like that, but I can... Oops. I can offer nice videos about sword fighting and stuff. So, you know, get cracking. Oops, there we go. And the usual. See my channel for more X and other videos. Channel for more test cutting. They're just so amazing, except for the ones that aren't. And there we are. That's basically the formula. And then I will render it, but that won't happen in a live stream. What? 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 What about small dogs? What? Unless you mean you want that sort of thing discussed in a video, but like I said, well, my main knowledge lies in martial arts and history and other such things. I actually once did a video talking about dogs. I was talking about the fact that if they react to their own reflection aggressively, then they are basically an inherently evil well, I didn't say evil, but inherently nasty creature. And that wasn't received very well. Because it was a bit clickbaity. It was quite a desperate attempt at a video, I guess. But I said that, you know, there's one simple trick to tell if your pet is nasty. And I said, get a mirror. Because if it reflects to it, well, reacts to its own reflection. What? Do they have editing programs in Middle Ages? No, they didn't. I mean, people keep commenting about things, well, keep mentioning, oh, back in those days he didn't have modern medicine. Well, apart from that, there are some other things that I would miss. There you go. So, tell you what, I shall end the live stream here. And if the video has actually finished processing by the time that I've actually, well, before I have to go to bed, which will be about 10ish since I've got to wake up at about 6ish, well, what I can do is... Wait, is that... Yes, it's set up correctly. I can have it set up to have maybe something like Mount and Blade, or even, I mean, I do play that game a lot, so maybe I can record some footage and then just show stuff later. Heck, I can use it as B-roll for some sort of green screen footage while I'm discussing other subjects. Hey, actually, you know what? I think I'll do that. I can talk about sieges and warfare. In the meantime, there'll be a picture of me and Mount and Blade shooting things and hitting people. Yes, I think I'll go for that. So anyway, let's see if there are any final questions or anything useful. No, there aren't. Well, remember, guys, you can always comment on the Discord. Link is in the description. You can ask questions on my Patreon. You can, you know, make public comments. You don't have to be actually paying me.